from a data perspective, can you ensure Denverites that the partial lane plan, from a data perspective, is safe? That it will be safe, safe as the full lane repurposing plan?
Yeah. So when you do sort of the planning, you look at the current condition. Then you make a plan that compares against that current condition. And when we were doing the initial analysis of the plan, we ran both. We ran both the full and the partial. And we looked at it, and we looked at all of the impacts and the trade-offs. And we looked at it with just that corridor in mind, the Alameda corridor. And so that was that. As we went through the full decision process, we then looked at this data, and we've shared obviously the safety analysis that we did and others. And so if you'll indulge me, I'll get into some of that just real briefly. So when we look at the full lane, so basically having one lane in each direction plus a turning lane, the primary crash reduction goals of this project were about vehicle crashes. So how do you reduce vehicle crashes? The way you reduce vehicle crashes is you create the opportunity for these left-hand turns. So you get people out of the main lane of traffic and into the left-hand turns. And so both projects do that. So that is where the crash reduction, if you will, stays virtually the same. And I'm gonna do one caveat, because we actually took a conservative approach when we do this. So the primary issues on that corridor are about, again, vehicle crashes. So how do you reduce it? You create the left-hand turn lanes. But in addition to that, we said, a lot of people in the community have raised questions about people crossing that corridor on bike and pedestrians and others. And we said, we agree. And so we went in on the designs, and we created all sorts of new pedestrian crossings, flashing signals to help pedestrians cross. We created, for instance, a grant where you can only turn right, so you can't cut across. And so all those elements, when you put them together, are there for pedestrian crossings. And both projects have them. So that doesn't change. So the change that you then see is this idea that instead of having one lane in each direction, you have one lane, and then you're keeping two lanes as you go eastbound. And I'll explain what that is then on the data side. So the congestion is this, and this is why congestion and diversion are sort of together. So as you're driving down this corridor, it typically takes for you in the corridor that we're talking about 3.5 minutes or so to drive it right now, okay? So about 3.5 minutes to drive it. When you go down to the one lane in each direction, that 3.5 minutes grows by just about 45%, okay? So it adds an extra minute and a half, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it's about 40-some% on a drive that used to take you about 3 minutes. People say, hey, that's no big deal. People can handle that. What happens in that environment is people, behavior, back to that, get impatient, and that directly correlates then with the diversion. So this corridor, as opposed to, let's say, the York corridor, where we also did a road diet, has many, many, many opportunities for people to go off. And they will. And based on our modeling, they do. And so all of the original modeling we did when we did design says, listen, when we do this, because of that congestion and because of people's wait times and all of this kind of thing, you're going to see people peel off the road. And they're going to divert. And so in that one lane configuration each way, we see that diversion go to about 10%. And then we also, in the partial, we see it go to about 5%, right? So that's the math of the diversion and why congestion impacts diversion. So they're not sort of separated, they're together. So as we then went into this, so the safety configuration elements that we looked at then were, we looked at, okay, what does that mean for the safety of the other streets nearby? Doesn't matter. And we have a corridor, Virginia, that is a pretty high crash corridor also. Not as high as Alameda. But there were 50-some crashes in a 4-year time frame in that corridor, a lot of them especially around Downing and Virginia. And we said, gosh, you're putting more traffic on that corridor, that could be impactful for people, pedestrians and others, safety as they're coming into the park, things like that. So that was one safety element that we looked at. And in fact, what we did was we said, yeah, we believe that regardless of what we are doing, full or partial, we think we need to make improvements actually also at Virginia and Downing. So we added that to the project. The last piece of safety then is the question of, okay, what does it mean then when you keep those two lanes going eastbound, which then changes that diversion. So it changes the diversion by about 5%. And so this is the last part of the math, right? So we took a conservative approach. We said, okay, let's assume, and this is sort of the way it looks, is let's assume that the crashes that we said would be reduced in the full lane reduction, let's assume that none of them get reduced in that partial. So it's 6, specifically, 6 crashes. And then we said, okay, let's assume none of them get reduced. Let's assume that they don't move over into the left-hand turn. Let's just assume they stay. And that because we've kept 2 lanes, it just stays the way it is today. And that change from a crash reduction factor, if you will, was about 5-ish%. So when you put that math and that data on the table, then you start looking at making a decision in that process and sort of, okay, how do we value this? What do we see? What's the value of it? And all of that kind of thing. And that's when we thought that the partial would be an answer that could address some of these issues that we were seeing over on potentially with Virginia, but still have all of the primaries. So that's why on our charts and stuff, you saw the words marginal. We said marginal. There's a marginal difference. So when you ask me, is it as safe? And you know, I say, it's basically as safe. And I sound like I'm couching that, and I'm not. It's sort of this marginal change. The last piece of it, the question that folks have started to ask too, was very naturally, when you have 3 lanes striped as opposed to 4 lanes striped, there was, in the 3 striping, you had a bit of a buffer in that corridor. And so the buffer was also where people thought there was going to be a bus pullover, but there's not. Again, there's just not enough room for that. So there was a little buffer. So it pulled the lanes of traffic a little, well, it made them a little wider, but it pulled them a little further away from the sidewalks that are there along Alameda. That buffer doesn't really have a safety factor, but it sure feels different, right, when you have a car that's a little further away from you. Now, those sidewalks, for the most part, have about 2 to 3 foot amenity zone, meaning like it's either concrete or it's grass or trees, and then your 5-foot sidewalks. That's for the most part of the corridor. That's what it is, and so that part we're still looking at. Could we still, in the different configuration, the turn, and the 2, still see if we could stripe in and some buffers and that kind of thing. So that's what we're still looking at as we go through this in the design. And what we've also committed to the public is to continue to do that safety analysis on this corridor as we go through this on the design side and continue to look at it. But we did want to look holistically and sort of think about how we put all these pieces together. So I apologize, that was super long, but maybe that's just information and data and that kind of thing on how we looked at it. And again, very transparent about that in the sharing of that, as we want to make sure that people see and understand sort of how we think and how we were looking at things and how we were approaching it.